imagination so grand. Travel, draw, and let's take a stand. Thoughts come alive, flowing through the pen. With every stroke, we create, we mend. The conversations plan. A bond we defend. Drivel, draw us to it again. And beyond we share. As we draw, we connect. The love affair. Sketching dreams without a single care. Drivel, we're the tether in these share. As we draw, we connect the land. A love affair, sketching dreams without a single care. Drivel, draw together we dare. Chatters.
And we are live! Unfortunately, we're having technical difficulties with the VTuber program that we usually use, so we're PGTuber for at least a little while. Today we're going to be touching upon a very difficult subject to talk about, in most ways, because it's going to cause heated debate in people. But we've got to address two things that happened over the weekend, in the United States, which will also bring up issues internationally. And since we're ripping this Band-Aid off, we're also going to talk about some issues that are based in the trans community. Lisa Koyoshi, hey, how's it going? So yeah, we're gonna be addressing some issues that are not easy for me to talk about. I do have to state, for those who may be checking in this late or don't know who I am, or in general think I don't know what I'm talking about. I am a trans woman. I've come out back in 2007. So I do know what I'm talking about. I've been in the trans community for years. And we're not just going to talk about trans, we're going to be talking about other groups. I am the sister to a gay couple. So my brother is gay, is married to a wonderful man, and I congratulate them. I also had a former roommate who was lesbian. So I've been on the avenue and talked to people and lived with people that come from this community. And I'll start with saying I never personally celebrate Pride. Pride Month. A lot of people do. I've always had issues with some of the stuff we're literally going to talk about tonight. Because I saw it years ago, and now it's becoming more well-known. And because of that, I can never, unless groups start addressing these issues appropriately. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So if you don't want to hear actual criticism from a member of the LGBT about the LGBT, then know that that's what we're going to be getting into tonight. Because I mean, the first two stories, and we're gonna hit them on the 15s, are going to open this up. I only have two news stories, and then we're going to cover some basic history, as well as issues that people don't talk about, particularly in the trans community. Stuff that's been around for years. I hate to say. Another reason I'm not huge on the Pride community has been the treatment of trans in the past by the gay community and the lesbian community. Now, that's never going to change. It's always going to be animosity between each group. So, I mean, I'm not here to solve that. We're not... Yeah, there's going to be tension there. But it's always going to be tension there. We're not here for that. We're here to address the bigger problems. The ones that we really need as groups to talk about. And I'm going to have to try and draw some of this out here. Let me get a traditional page. Okay. So, one of the biggest problems, and I'm going to try and cover this visually for people to understand. Alright. Imagine this square is what encompasses all humans. So, every human, every person fits into this square. Everyone. Doesn't matter race, creed, whatever. As we continue to progress in society, we are going and going. Cut off, cut off, cut off, and making little box communities. And we're expecting the little box community to be accepted by the bigger box community. And at the same time, we're not being acceptive the other way around. So, it's poisoning your own food, essentially. If you think people are going to hate you, people are going to have a problem with you, they're only going to have more of a problem the more and more you divide. And eventually you divide to where you got nothing left. You got individuals in their own little boxes. And sadly, that's what our world is becoming, is we're trying to box ourselves little by little by little by little. Yet, we always are part of the whole. We cannot separate ourselves from the whole. Yet, far too often, we poison ourselves, thinking, oh, well, they don't understand. Well, the they that you're talking about is still part of what you are in a community. And it's that sort of, and I have to say, there's no better word than toxic. It's a toxic situation. Where you're gonna expect the rest of the world to bend to your will. And it ain't happening. It really is not gonna happen. Especially and larger communities as we touch upon one of the first stories we're going to hit. And I don't like going political on streams because there's multiple ways and views, and each person has a different opinion of what we need to do to move forward. We're not going political, but we're going to cover another subject on top of this that is tension to the world right now, and that is the Palestine-Israel problem. I'm not going to tell you sides. I'm not going to tell you who's right or who's wrong. But I will tell you one side accepts GLBT and the other does not. And I mean, does not. And yet, we see people praising a side that does not. So, some of you that may know where this is headed, essentially. And yeah, we're going to be touching upon the gays for Palestine. Palestine follows a law that is Muslim law called Sharia law. Sharia law is the most antiquated form of law in the world. Most people are like, oh, no. Christianity is no. Now, the world has pretty much got to accepting in Christian, Judeo, even some Muslim, and most Asian countries. Asia is still having issues too. But that's because of Sharia law and how problematic Sharia law is to particularly GLBT. And believe it or not, the T actually comes out easier than the GL does in Sharia law. And we'll cover that. So, until then, we're drawing Demon Blood. Something that would not be appreciated by Sharia law either. So, yeah, this comic would be outlawed by Sharia law. But yeah, we've gotta cover this subject because I try to keep Drivel Draw topical. And this is a topic that we're gonna have to address. I'm just waiting for that last 2 minutes to pass before we break into the news story. So. Okay. let's hit it a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna actually turn the music off for a second. Okay. So, where's my freaking internet? And it doesn't pop up. Alright, hold on. Properties. Okay. So, this weekend in Philadelphia, they had their Philly Pride Parade, which is not uncommon. They've had it for years. Philly is one of the oldest Pride Parade locations. But you had Free Palestine protesters blocking the parade. And you had Queers for Palestine in the middle. Now, I can't not get descriptive here. In Palestine, they follow Sharia law. That is the law of the land. You're not going to get equal treatment, freedom of speech, and you definitely are not going to be free to love who you want to love. In Sharia law, homosexuality is a crime of murder, or a crime of death, a crime with the punishment of death. The lucky ones get thrown off buildings. That's not when I said trans. We'll cover the trans in a bit. So the G and the L people, the lucky ones get thrown off buildings. More often, you'll get stoned to death. You'll get set on fire, acid thrown in your face, or beheading. More often. I mean, the more common practice these days is throwing them off the building. But in the past, that was the problem. Now, where I said, T's actually have a little bit of an advantage here. In some countries that follow Sharia law, most notably Iran, if you're in a loving family that can afford it, they will get you to have the transition. Only for male to female, not female to male. Female to male, they'll kill you. But why they have the transition? It doesn't matter if you're T or not. If you're gay and you have a rich enough family, they will force you into surgery. Doesn't matter if you want to be trans or not. They will force it on you. It's the only way you get to live. And you get to live as one of the worst treated females in that community. It is disturbing when you actually look into this situation. So, seeing people protest Israel and claim their gays with Palestine aren't willing to note what they're literally letting happen. What will happen if they go to Palestine? There are videos out there that people have gotten of Palestinians stating, "Oh no, if you're gay, we'll kill you." They'll flat out say it. It's against Sharia law. And to see so many people ignorant of this law, of how it will treat you, it's just disturbing. So there was a kerfuffle, and it got into a fist fight in Philadelphia. I can't show the fist fight. I can't technically show you the parade for Philly or the next city we're going to talk about, which is Seattle. We can't show it. It gets violent. So the problems with the community they're saying is, there's the divisiveness between people that know and people are too freaking ignorant to themselves in the community. You wave around flags without knowing what you're supporting. And it's this ignorance that really pisses me off. It's why I don't go to pride parades. It's why I don't support a pride parade. It's because this isn't exactly new for it. I mean, there's the next story we cover. It's going to get worse. It's going to get much, much worse. But, yeah. I mean, really, it's learn. If you're going to protest, learn what you're protesting. Learn 100% so you can go there and be an informed protester. I will also say, because Palestinian protesters have done this, but other groups have done this, blocking traffic, blocking or doing damages to painting does not win people over. It pisses people off, especially the traffic. A lot of us have to sit in traffic. It doesn't matter what you are. A lot of us have to go to work, have to go home, and you block traffic off. You're not winning people over. You're making people hate you more. Maybe that's their plan. Maybe that's all the plan, but it doesn't win people over. The paintings, that pisses me off. That flat out pisses me off. You don't like a work of art, and I mean, this goes for environmentalists too, because they're worse at it. Throwing soup onto paintings. Now, first off, most of the time you're going to be hitting glass, plexiglass. So you're not going to hit the painting. So you're not going to do anything to the painting. Second off, you're destroying a piece of art, a piece of history. Somebody worked their life to do that. And you piss people off. It's one of the dumbest protests out there. Only the traffic is worse. Only the traffic one's worse. You hold up traffic. If you're not hit by a car, God bless you. I mean, it's only going to make enemies. It's not going to make people win over to your side. They're just going to be people pissed off with you. That's it. You're not winning anybody over. So, I mean, in the long run, as I said, think before you protest. Learn about what you're protesting. Don't just, I'll tell a story that no politics is involved, no group is involved. When I was in college, we had a McDonald's at the college in the student dorm. Well, for the first 2 years I was there, students protested having that McDonald's. They wanted healthy food. Well, come my third year, the school listened. They got rid of it. Also, what closed around it was a Burger King. No one was like going there. I mean, it wasn't the best Burger King in all places. In fact, it was fairly dangerous for what was going on there. So they closed it down. So come the third year, we don't have a McDonald's. We don't have Burger King. Students start protesting again. This time, we don't have any cheap options for food. Well, you kick away your cheap options. You said you didn't want McDonald's, you didn't want Burger King, and now you're complaining you're having to pay expensive money for food when you don't have a cheap option. Well, yeah, dug your own grave on that one. Me, I didn't care. I was regularly eating goldfish. I was a poor art student, man. My lunches were goldfish and combos. If I was lucky. Well, actually, no. I did have a job during the time, and I went to one taco place twice a week. I didn't eat tacos, ironically. I ate their burgers. They had a really good burger for a taco place. But yeah, I would go there. I'd pay about, at the time, because we're talking 1990s, around 98. It's about $8 for a burger and fries. I ate fine. Now, people protested like hell to try and get cheap food back. And the next year, McDonald's was back. So it goes to show, if you don't think your protests are meaningless, it really is. And that's what a lot of this current protesting, I feel, is become. All I'm saying, educate yourself before you protest. I know it sounds stupid, but these days, Lord, there are a lot of stupid people. And I don't disclose me in that lineup. But yeah. So let's get to the other Pride Parade issue. Nudity at Seattle Pride sparks outrage. Okay. Nudity has been an issue for Pride parades for a while now. Sexual actions, nudity. I get, you're proud, you want to show it off. People bring children to these. And in this case, there was a guy who literally was buck naked, nothing on, who gyrated in front of a young child. That, again, does not win anyone over. It pisses people off. Hell, I'm severely pissed off. I don't have children. You don't win people over for stupid crap. It is so infuriating. And it's been a problem. Like I said, this is not the first year. Last year they had two people, I think it was in San Francisco, literally having sex on the Pride Parade. Keep it in your damn pants until you get home. Seriously. Pride Parade does not mean to be openly screwing does not mean to have sexual actions and make people watch. I honestly wish I was making this crap up. But it's points like this that, as a trans woman, I can't stand this crap. I can't stand it. You're going to make it harder for people that are gay, lesbian, trans, bisexual, whatever. You're making it harder for people to accept them. You know? I know I came out in 2007. If I came out when I knew I was trans, not knowing the process, not knowing health issues, and we'll get into this in the second hour. I would, one, probably be beaten to death by some people at school. Because I live in the South. That crap ain't accepted. Not by children in the 80s to 90s. That ain't accepted. Sorry. In current day, yeah, I mean, that's accepted. But if I did anything near what they did at this parade, or, well, I mean, I'm not going to hold Philly to destructive nature, because most of the people at the Philly Pride Parade were just marching, and they were doing the fine thing, and it's good. It was the Palestinian protesters that, again, like I stated at the beginning of this statement, Sharia law came into play, and fists flew. If Sharia law came in place in the U.S., the gay community would be praying for Christian law. That's if they lived long enough. And it's not me threatening it. It's Palestinian. It's Sharia law. It is in their books. And if you don't understand that is your biggest threat, then I just can't help you. I really can't. I'd probably be put to death pretty quickly, but I just shake my head and be like, warned you. It's important to learn about cultures, to learn about history, and that means learning the negative. Yes, America had some effed up history. And it doesn't mean just gay. I mean, oh my God. Some of the crimes, especially the Native American. Holy crap. But it's nothing compared to laws elsewhere. And I hate to say it. I mean, far too many people are being too stupid for their own good. And it's causing the rest of the world to suffer. it, I mean, I'd like to say it's school's not teaching, but we'll get into that in the second hour here. This is the, I apologize to my regular watchers, this is the ugly rant that we're doing tonight. This, nothing about this is gonna be good. Nothing is pleasant. It's not pleasant to any side. But you need to know what you're in for, what you may be supporting. Because what you may be supporting may not be what you think you are. And I'm sure there are going to be people who will be like, you don't know what you're talking about. I've read Sharia law. I've read it. It's not pleasant. I've had Muslim friends, though. No problem. No problem. Because they're not Sharia law followers. It's, like I said, it's the most antiquated law out there. It's not something that you want to face, you want to see. I'd like to say it's biting the hand that feeds you, but thankfully, the U.S. follows Christian Judea law, not Sharia law. Not to say there aren't messed up things in Christian Judea law. But most of those things don't happen these days. I mean, I'm gonna get a little more personal as we go. I can say I've been trans out there living day to day as a woman since 2010. Since before Caitlyn Jenner came out, which is when the whole trans issue blew up. Basically, I have only had two conflicting issues in my life with me being trans. One, ended up going on Craigslist on a public forum. Sorts. When I started transitioning early, I went to a grocery store with some friends. We were having role-playing game night. And we went to get something to eat. This place had great chicken. They're unfortunately closed, but technically not. They still operate, they just don't have private stores. I went in there, and this father came in with his two kids. One had to be like 5 or 6, the other one 7, 8, something like that. His kids go about trashing, I mean literally throwing stuff in the aisles that the staff are having to clean up. And then I come in online to Craigslist at the time and see this father talking about how, oh, this horrible trans person was there and they were the laughing stock and it was horrible. Their children was making fun of them. The entire staff of that store was grateful when his kids left because he couldn't control his kids. Instead, he wants to blame the trans person for how his kids behaved. I'm sorry. you're in the wrong. And I told him that. I said, look, I'm the person that you so much want to insult. I am the very person that saw you there. The staff were pissed at your kids. They had to clean up after your kids throwing crap in the aisle, tearing down, little, what is it? I'm forgetting. I used to work in a restaurant or in a grocery store. The standees, the little standees. They were tearing down standees. His kids were the nightmare. Yet, he is so blinded with his hate for me, for other trans people, that he was that way. Now, what made it even funnier, he was like, oh, you need to get out of this area. I then told the guy, it's like, you do understand the area in which that store existed is the gay area of the city. It's the well-known area that if you were gay, homosexual, trans, you lived in that area because of that. But a bigot wanted to be a bigot. So that, it didn't get the fist fights. I got to be able to slam down the very man that insulted me online. And he continued to be a bad father, in my opinion. Because I guarantee you he didn't control his kids. If he didn't control them at that point, then he ain't controlling them normal. That being said, the only other time I've had issues with people have been stuff with family, stuff with community, but nothing's gotten to ugliness that I couldn't resolve eventually. With the exception of the one time I went into a job interview. The moment I walked in, the lady was just determined. She was like, no, we're not hiring you. And I was like, well, why? She's like, because you're trans. We're not accepting you. Like, okay. And I had to accept it. I went home and cried. It's like, I need a job, and you're just blatantly just saying no because I'm not what you want to look like in an employee. So, unfortunately, it's a right-to-work state that I live in. So, I have no recourse to be like, no. I got mistreated, even though technically it's illegal to not hire me because I'm trans. It would have been an issue that, one, I was broke, and two, these people were not gonna listen. So there's no point in fighting it. And, I mean, yeah. Did it piss me off? Yeah. Did it make me cry? Yes. I went home, found another job, moved on. Got a great job right now. Doesn't matter, I'm trans. Work that job. I don't even know if that company is still in business. It was before COVID, well before COVID. And COVID closed a lot of businesses. So, it could be that business is closed. I don't know. But, I mean, if you're trans, if you're gay, if you're lesbian, if you're bi, if you're whatever, we'll go through the flags in a minute. Yeah, you're gonna be treated like crap at times. But the same is said for if you're white in a black neighborhood or black in a white neighborhood. You're not going to get treated 100% like everybody else. It's just not going to happen. Hey, you can form a good relationship with people and win people over, but you have to find common ground. You can't sit there and be like, oh, well, they don't accept me, so screw them. You gotta win people over. And this was something I was preaching years ago when I touched upon being trans and being out in the public. Because I originally, and I wish I could show it, unfortunately it's down, and I don't have the time to go through and fix it. We had a blog running from about 2012 to 2015 called Path of the Butterflies. It was literally about my progress in becoming trans, what I was going through, and covered subjects along the way. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about tonight was covered in that. Still covered. A lot of the subjects I talked about, still to this day. I hate to say I forecasted sort of how things were going to go, but a lot of the turmoil between groups was easy to read years ago. Sadly, the way we were going, it's like you keep that down this path, you're in for trouble. I knew this was going to be a frustrating episode to really talk about. And if you stick with this, thank you. If you want to despise me, put a thumbs down, dislike this video, or argue with me, you put it in the comments. I don't care. I don't care. As long as you're not causing something that will cause me to have to fix, I won't touch it. You know? Go ahead, be ugly. I don't care. I grew up with people who literally beat me for being when I was growing up. So, I mean, a lot of the issue, or how I based the character Thug off in chapters 5, 6, and 7 of Demon Blade. He's literally named after 3 of my bullies that beat me up, called me the F word, treated me like crap because they wanted to have a higher standing and whatnot. And their names were Thaddeus, Glenn, Harris. Those were their... I separated parts of their names. So one was named Glenn, that was his first name. One was named Thaddeus, or Thad. And the last one, Harris, was named Kenneth. So, the kind of turmoil that Thaddeus, or that Thad, creates in Demon Blade is very much related to my own past bullies. Yeah. And it wasn't because I was acting gay or anything. I was a quiet bookworm. In high school and middle school and elementary school. But I would get bullied. Non-stop. Am I the only one that got bullied? No. Not at all. But I always looked at people when they said the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me. When you are inundated with insults, and this could be any group, any slander, any word, you hear that every day. You get that label thrown on you, no reason. You will hate yourself. And it's because of the bullying. Before I came out, I was an angry, self-destructive individual. The most I drank was around that time, but I didn't have an alcohol problem. I didn't have a drug problem. I had a rage problem. I got violent, argued with people, lost jobs back and forth. And it was because I hated myself so much. These days, I've literally had conversations with my dad, who's very Christian in his belief. And while he says, I don't agree with you being trans and going through with that, but that's for you and God. That's for you to do. Said, but I have seen that you are no longer the person that you were before you came out. You were not that rage-filled, that sorrow-filled person. I was suicidal before going in. There's no ifs and doubts about that. Before I came out, I literally was writing a suicide letter. And it came out to be, as I reread it, an admission to me being trans. And it saved my life to finally bear admitting that part of me. But I handled it a little differently than how many people in the trans community these days handle coming out. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. So, in the 80s to 90s to early 2000s, I'd say to 2010, if you were trans, if you came out as trans, you'd have to go through 2 years of psychiatric evaluation first. And the reason being is they didn't want to see if there was just that or underlying issues. Now, I've been suicidal since, but it's never been about me about being trans. It's been about I had my life destroyed by a con artist in one case. Everything literally was going away in my life. And it was because a con artist made me believe that they were in love and they destroyed my life. And the second time I was suicidal was because of my health issues. And most people would be like, oh, well, you're taking these trans drugs. They're probably affecting your health. My family's even said it. Until we've discovered, no, I have a genetic defect. I have something that is so painful. It hurts to sit, to walk. Sometimes all I want to do is just sleep because the pain is so much. And that was my gastroparesis. Now, being trans female, gastroparesis is mainly a female disease. Genetic, but it mainly only affects females. So, I'm already a rare case. And I made it even rarer. And then you add on top of that, I'm at one of the more severe cases. Most people, you'll have some pain, but it's manageable. And it'll be like constipation to them. Me, I don't have constipation problems. I have the opposite end problem. It doesn't stop at times. But it gets so painful. It literally, the only way I can describe it is Temple of Doom ripping the guy's heart out of the chest. But through the stomach. The alien popping out of the chest. And aliens. Feeling that tearing, that severe strike. I've been able to manage it over the last few months. I didn't get diagnosed with it until October. Since 2014, I've been dealing with that pain. 10 years I've been dealing with that pain. And I'm finally going to get managed. Most of it is through diet. But I had to face ridicule from people saying, oh, you're trans meds. No. But there are problems with trans meds. And far too often, those problems aren't discussed with people who go out and transition. So you get people who are like, I didn't know this is how this was going to be. A lot of detransitioners are like, I didn't realize I'd be destroying my body. Well, anything that goes in your body is going to destroy your body. We're just now, we had the rush with the COVID vaccine. We're just now finding how dangerous those vaccines were. Did they do good? Yes. But at the same time, they cause problems, especially in younger folks taking it. But heart problems, muscle degenerate or muscle problem, nervous system problems. I question my own nerve damage that I have to it, where I can't close my left hand great. It takes a lot of effort and it's in pain when it does. I can't move 3 toes on my left side. And like, oh, well, how do you know it's the COVID vaccine? It was the day after I got the COVID vaccine and had an allergic reaction. So it's possible. I kind of knew going in I was going to have an allergic reaction. And I did. Because I have a lot of allergies in my life. So I'm not surprised about the allergic reaction. But people are adamant you had to get that shot. You had to get it. You had to get it. And they didn't think maybe it's not a good idea to just throw people meds without them knowing what they're getting. But I say that, I guarantee you the next pandemic, they're gonna be throwing it again. Like, we gotta do it. We can't. Pandemics have been around since humanity's been around. So, I mean, it's not unheard of that we're gonna find that problem. I mean, people can't take the flu vaccine because it's developed through eggs. And so many people die of the flu each year.
Ink on the paper, let your creativity flow. Eyes hosting the show, dining and doodles, grab your pen and brush. It's time to let it show, colors blending
But, yeah.
together.
So, yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Let's talk about them. Like I said, I don't really have much. We'll do pride flags with it. And I'll go over some of the pride flags that I disagree with. So I'm going to try and zoom this picture in. Okay. First off, LGBT pride, no problem. Philadelphia pride, it says POC, inclusive variation. I have no problem if you want to do that. Progressive pride, trans inclusion, I have no problem with that. Intersective, you're starting to get in weird territory with intersex, but it's fine. Bisexual, fine. Polyosexual, fine. I may not agree with you, but sure. Pansexual, same. Polyamory pride, no. Polyamory, I don't think you belong. Seriously. We're gonna get into some weird ones here. Lesbian pride, fine. Gay pride, fine. Asexual pride, fine. Demisexual, only with a strong emotional man. Okay, fine. Trans pride, fine. Non-binary pride, binary pride, fine. Queer gender, yeah, fine. Gender fluid, you're starting to get a little sketchy, but fine. Agender, having no gender, I'm going to start to disagree with you there. You're always going to have a gender. You may not represent as a gender, but you're going to have a gender. It's not something you can remove entirely. Not helpfully, at least. Demigender, partial connect. Alright, now you're getting finicky. Same with bigender. Intersex, I said okay earlier. Rare brotherhood. Bears are a term for gay. Why do we need a separate flag for bears in general? Is there one for otters? Is there one for, I'm trying to think of another term for them. But I mean, dividing, this is where I was talking about in the beginning. Dividing squares into squares, into squares, into squares, into squares, until you get nothing. This is what happens. BDSM. BDSM, it's an action. It's a fetish. Same with leather pride, which is next. They're not something that you live with, all right? Stop putting that in a pride. Rubber pride as well. They're fetishes. They're not something you live with. A gay person is gay. They live with that. A lesbian is lesbian. They are gay for women. They're not going to go for men. it's not something they can change. Leather? If you're into leather, you can change that. You can get out of the leather. That's not pride. It's this divisiveness of having to divide and divide and divide and divide that is tearing communities apart. And I mean, many of the gay and the lesbian end don't want trans around. I can understand that. Now, since we're on this subject, we'll come back to some of the trans meds stuff. We gotta talk about the group that wants in. And they desperately want in. And they join in, I will never support a pride event. Pedosexual. Oh. Well, yeah, they call themselves pedosexuals. Pedophiles, essentially. They are trying to link up with the pride. I am all for... Okay, let's see here. All LGBT flags are unnecessary. They're, as far as I'm concerned, there's one flag, and it's humanitarian. Exactly! Exactly what I was saying in the beginning. You're dividing everything into tiny little boxes. And that's exactly what they're doing with pride flags. You're dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing till you get so minute and small that no one can recognize anything. No one can support you because you're so smally dissected from all that it means nothing. It means nothing. So you're ruining your own point of having pride in who you are. Thank you. I'm trying to read here. Check Rabbit. For some reason it didn't come up in the YouTube stream here. But, yeah. So, it's frustrating. I actually came up and it's Twitch, but for some reason my Twitch isn't working. Okay, that explains it. They want to divide. Let me try and get the chat up here. Where are my chats? Chat box. Okay. There we go. Oh, that's the one that has it, I think. Nope. Let's block our image. We're not grabbing that. Alright. Not Twitch chat, so it's YouTube chat. Just want to try and read this a little bit better. Yeah, check her out. They want a division so that they can judge, which is creating hate. It's always the same. Black versus white, woman versus man, Jew versus Christian. People use these dividers to judge. Exactly. Exactly. When we divide ourselves and let ourselves be divided, because a lot of it is, yes, a lot of pride is people letting themselves be divided into these individual groups. It does us no good. It destroys points. It destroys what you want to get out of the situation. My main thing when I came in as trans was I wanted to be able to work. I wanted to be able to work as me. I wanted to be able to accept me as I wake up every morning. I knew, and I mean, this is going back in the medical, I knew I'm not going to change my gender fully. It's never going to happen. Science fiction, I've written science fiction. There's some neat stuff coming down the line that maybe it'd be possible in a synthetic way. But, I mean, there's even been talk in the past about growing your own opposite gender genitalia, but your body's got to accept it. And that's been the problem since the first trans surgery. The guy, and I will say guy in that sense, even though it was a trans female, they died. They died about 12 to 13 hours after the surgery, where they literally just did I'm taking the female genitalia from a cadaver and putting it on a man. Now, mind you, this was 1920 or so. So, surgery in general was risky. So, it was going to be a problem for years. And it still is a problem. And trans people need to understand the risk that they're going through. And the results that you're going to get. If you have bottom surgery, male to female, you are going to have an open wound on you for the rest of your life. That is what is effectively created. It is a open wound. You will constantly have to go in to get it cleaned. You will constantly have to keep it from closing up. Because if you don't, it will close up. And that's a lot of money, too. People don't understand how expensive these surgeries are. When I started researching into trans and being trans, it was effectively the price of a brand new car to get the surgery. And that was a brand new car in 2007, 2008. That's when it was like $20,000. Surgery's gone up in price. I guarantee you the surgery's gone up in price. It's more available, but it's gone up in price. Now, Medicare, Medicaid does cover the initial surgery. It also covers top surgery. I have debated in my personal life to get top surgery. Bottom surgery, I've debated that as well. I've come to the decision over the last few years, I'm not going to get bottom surgery. Because I don't want to deal with an open wound with the way my body already is in bad shape. Because I already have a lot of health issues. And I've had a lot of UTIs in my life. So I don't want to make it worse. But that's my choice. I mean, if you're trans, you're watching this, and you think, hey, I don't mind that, go for it. But that's where we have to hit the bigger elephant in the room of the past years. to be precise. Children transition. The reason it's not a good idea for a child to transition. Oh, Jackrabbit. Appreciate you're willing to see others' views. I say, we can immerse ourselves what we want to be, but we cannot change what our biology is. Yes, exactly. You cannot change what you are. And again, going back to what I really hope they do it, or go back to it, is having anybody who goes through the surgeries, you have to have 2 years of mental study. They have to make sure you're not depressed, you're not anxious, you're not suffering from other issues. A lot of people I've met, because I've been in a mental institution, both times I said that I went there. First time, being a con artist destroyed my life. I went into a mental institution. I met other trans people. Well, they had schizophrenia. They had multiple personality disorder. These issues should be a warning sign before you transition, because the transition, even the meds I'm on, are going to cause you some issues. My biggest problem? Spironolactone. Spironolactone is the testosterone blocker, the number one testosterone blocker for trans females. It is also a prostate cancer drug. So there's other uses. Most of these drugs have other uses. Because it's a prostate cancer drug, if you take large doses, which you will as you transition, it will cause you to drain your system a lot. And it's gotten to the point in my life where I've been told I have to have at least a Gatorade a day or something similar on top of just water, because my body water literally just goes through me, and I get dehydrated and end up in the hospital because of it. So, yeah. Jackrabbit. Exactly. People are forcing it on others, especially kids who can't even get a tattoo. Yes. People don't realize the danger of it. And one of the biggest issues, and a lot of people say, oh, we don't know how this will treat on the kids. So, a transitioning child. No, we do. Don't believe the lie. We don't know how it would work on the children. The problem is, when you transition, you effectively tell your body to go through a puberty. Now, as an adult, it's a second puberty. So your body is going to suffer things. I remember I had horrible hot flashes when I started. I had moments of strength weakening, but I also broke out a lot because my skin was going bad. And this was how I was when I went through normal puberty. Now, I transitioned at the age of 27. A child who has not gotten through puberty is getting double the effect. It will destroy. Their body literally will be fighting the meds as well as the meds fighting the body at the same time. It's not something you should go through at the same time. The body chemistry destroys itself. And it's so important that people know, yes, it's is not something the body can take. And that's why you don't transition children. And people are like, oh, well, you're just signing on now. Half the butterflies, I filled this crap out in 2012. Do not transition as a child, because it is going to be physically too much for your body to handle. You may be like, oh, well, I already transitioned, or I know somebody who transitioned, and they didn't have a problem. Did they? Because the next problem, and this is the bigger problem for trans males, testosterone. Testosterone destroys the liver in high doses. I obviously screw up some of my artwork here, but I'll fix that. When you take a steroid, and that's literally what you're doing as a trans female. When you take a steroid, it attacks your liver. Estrogen will do kind of the same. The liver is sort of the warning spot for trans people. If your liver starts to go bad, you gotta get off the meds. You gotta get off the meds, because it's killing you. It's killing you. The last thing you need to be is on dialysis the rest of your life. If you go through this legally, and you have a proper doctor, and they know what they're looking for, they will test your liver enzymes to make sure you're fine. Check Drivel. What's sad, even discussing this, is making my points public. Otherwise, I'll try to just slander me and call me transphobic. Healthy discussions. Exactly. This is why we have a problem. Is we don't want to listen to the science. There's far too many people who are like, no, I get to be that way. No, you're never biologically going to change. I don't know how many nights I would go to bed praying for that change, for that magical change. I can do it in the story. Even Blade, the main character Tetsu, transitions to the female back and forth. Happens all the time. No problem. No problem. It's magically done. Magic is not real. Same thing with Witchin's main character. We also have a trans character there. Their journey, though, is more to explore and come to terms with accepting who they are. Whereas in Demon Blade, it's less about the exploration and more confronting the past, confronting oneself, as well as other dark shadows within them. So the two stories have different setups, but kind of tackle on the same issue. That's also kind of why Tetsu, who admits as a child, because I knew at age 7 that I was trans. And yes, a lot of people would think, oh, no, that's not possible. No, you can know. You can know. This is why art and video games are great. You can be anyone you want in the world. And yeah, exactly. Exactly. In fact, on my lineup, you're calling out Hogwarts. In my lineup, for when we get an upgrade, Hogwarts Legacy is on the first on the line. So, many people want to hate on that. I'm a trans woman, and I'm going to play Hogwarts. Why? Because it's a good game. I haven't bought it yet because I have a PS4 and a Switch, and I'd rather have the higher quality to play on stream. But Hogwarts is on there, is on the list. How much hate they've given J.K. Rowling for being a creator. I never understand. I never understand. Now, I do agree. The woman continuously rewrites her stories to be like, oh, no, I meant this. And, yeah, I can be guilty of that at times. I mean, hell, Tetsu being trans didn't come about until I was fully drawing the comic. Because I didn't know if I wanted to make Tetsu trans. But as the story developed, yeah. I also didn't know if I wanted Tetsu to have a relationship. But they do. And to note, we have a love song that is Tetsu's feelings towards Kyle through the early years, from their childhood when the two met to current time. The song, Guardian Angel, which I'll pull up when it plays, now on the YouTube channel. So you can catch the whole, it has its own video out there. Next one will be my music video. And eventually I'll also release a Witchin' one. But all of them you can hear on the streams. But yeah, I mean, we need to not attack each other for when we disagree with things. Learn, and take it as a learning experience. Like, somebody disagrees with you, try to find out where they disagree with you, why they disagree with you. Because you may be blinded on the issue. And that's sadly what divides us, is we don't want to meet in the middle. We don't want to come to terms. And I have no problem with a lot of people who are like, oh, well, you're trans and that's wrong. It's like, okay, you can believe that. But let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Yes, I respect her opinion. She can have her political opinion. She's not causing genocide. It's just the feminist view tends to clash with the pride dialogue. Yes, it does. It does. And we're seeing the I mean, there's a reason I called this in 11 Kingdoms the War of Ideals that we're going through. Because it's disagreement internally and externally about different viewpoints and destroying it. And yeah, those that don't know or don't want to believe we're in World War III, we're in World War III. It's already in there. Already in, or War of Ideals, as I call it. We may not be in combat, but we're in it. And right now I'm just praying we're not gonna get into bloodshed here in the US. Although I worry. I seriously worry. I think the closer we get to the elections and the more divisive people get, the more the ideals come out. And sort of dominate people's minds. The closer we get to not the repeat of World War II, but the repeat of 1860s. And that is Civil War. And no matter what side you're on, you don't want Civil War. You don't want Civil War. They didn't want Civil War in the Civil War. it got to that point. Well, this is one. This is my song.
Years drift by, shadows haunt my dreams. Revenge fueled by silent screams. Haunted nights fueled by bitter cries. He'll pay beneath these blood-red skies. I see vengeance, sun will find you. My frozen heart will find you. The ghost of rage will ride the star.
So, this is called I See Vengeance. And it's a perfect example. Without going into territories and whatnot. My story is very much about revenge for the man who did her wrong. The pain she went through. And the more decay as she goes with letting rage sort of take her and absorb her. And this song perfectly encompasses it. And that's all it takes is somebody does you wrong and you let that rage develop and build and build and build. And by the end, you are literally corrupted, leading of this dark vitriol within your blood and bones. And there's no, as someone who suffered anger issues as a child, this is how you feel. You get the sense of self-justifying. And the only way out of it is to learn to let it go. And that's a majority of my story in Demon Blade. It's her finding ways to let go of this rage she has that's absorbed in her. I mean, this very line. It's, I will not accept love. I will not forgive you. Now that I've finally gotten back at you. So she's got her revenge. She's killed the man that destroyed her life. Literally, in the case of mine. And it drives her. And that anger still exists, even after she tries. Being a victim of domestic abuse recently myself, yeah, the rage. It's clinical, but even don't want to see their life destroyed or blame others. I admitted almost a year ago, I'm a victim of rape. I was a victim of rape in 2003, 23. I was living in my car, and I got somebody break in my car and raped me. Now, I could have been angry, I could have been destructive about it, but instead, I made sure to keep my wits about me. And because I kept my wits about me, I was able to survive. I was able to find a way for the guy who did it to me to give out too much information and give something that I can give the police after he left. And that's what I did. But at the same time, the next few days, yeah, I was bursting in tears. I was angry at myself. I was angry at life. But the morning it happened, I didn't sleep. I went to work. My boss told me, you shouldn't be here if this happened to you. I was like, no. I have to be here. I have to find something or it will destroy me. You have to get out of your head when something bad happens to you. Particularly something that you're a victim of. If you sit in that victim mentality, that rage will build. And that hate. And I've seen it destroy too many people. I mean, some people look for that distraction in drugs. And it destroys them. It destroys them. I've lost at least one person in my family to drugs that I know of. They got so drugged up. They sold her own mother's washing machine and drying machine. But because she was such a hoarder in this situation, the woman did not know they were missing for years. But she had to get that hit. She had to get that hit because she needed to get away from something. In her case, it was pain. She needed to get free of the pain. So, and then she ultimately destroyed herself. And it's sad. It's sad. Let's see. It's these things that make us stronger. It's undoubtedly wiser. Some people will turn to drugs, etc., right? And then try to blame. Yeah. There's a reason Tetsu and Mai both have scars. It's not just story-wise something I wanted. I wanted them to show that physically they've been through crap, but they survived. Especially Tetsu, because I mean, the way I wrote Tetsu is technically Tetsu should not have survived, but I did some, main character savior concept there. Getting your neck stabbed and nicking your artery. You aren't gonna live from that. But Tetsu's protagonist scenario that kept him alive. But yeah, you need to accept that you're gonna have scars. I have a scar. As a child, I had no sense of balance, and I still don't have a sense of balance. It took forever for me to learn how to ride a bike. I didn't ride a bike until 9, I believe. Was it 9? And not too long after I learned, I slipped and fell on my bike, and I scraped the knee to the bone. I still have this scar on my life. I have a false tooth on my front. One of my 2 front teeth is false because it got knocked out by a bully. And even while I'm saying this, my tongue's running across the back of it, which is stainless steel on the back, but Corningware on the front. But it's a reminder, don't take everyone at full acceptance, because they can cause another issue. I've noticed a lot of people who blame incidents on others, which I've noticed in the LGBT communities, a lot go kind of far, which is partially what I think. Yeah. There's a lot, and this is why I said, if you're gonna be trans, make sure there's no underlying issues. Because ultimately, you have to accept you. And that's why I always end these streams, be the best you that you can be. It has nothing to do about being trans. It has nothing to do with gay or anything. It has everything to do with wake up, be the person that you can accept for that day. And try to be better than that each and every day. That's the way to live, the way to survive each day. There will be days you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. And I can understand that. I've had days that I'd rather just sit at home and do nothing. Exactly, when you die in the ideology, everything entails make sure no one else is manipulating. Yes. Which is, again, an issue that I wanted to talk about in the stream. We're getting a bit late, but let's talk about it. Teachers influencing kids to be trans is not only wrong, it's evil. If you become trans because someone else tells you you are trans, you are not trans. The way you are trans is you have to come to that acceptance. You have to be the person to make that decision. Do not let other people tell you what you are. I'm an artist. When I was a kid, I was told I'd never be creative. I have several books. I have a novel. I have a lot of things that I have created in years in spite at that one person that told me I would never be creative. Do not accept what others label you. Be the you that you want to be. Be the best you that you want to be. They don't have to be trans. I mean, you could just be, into cross-dressing. I mean, that's possible. Less damaging. I tried to be, but for me, no, I wouldn't accept it. There was more to me that I wanted to transition with. And I've worked to be a better person since then. And that's the way to go about it. Because if you're living and letting someone else tell you how to live or who to be, you're just going to hurt yourself. You're going to come out of it, you're like, I don't want to be this way. You're based and come. What's your viewpoint? I love it. Thank you for standing up to madness in society. Well, I mean, yeah. I've seen crap, man. I've seen crap. I've lived through it. There are ways you've got to deal with life, and I mean, I'm 45 going on 46 in next month. I've lived an eventful life. Many good, many bad moments. But the key is I didn't accept everything to be negative. My family, like I said at the beginning, my family doesn't completely support me being trans. But I don't chase them away. I try to keep having a relationship with them because otherwise I'd be alone. Now, when I came out, I prepared myself to lose everything. I was like, if I come out and say this, I gotta be prepared for my family to disown me, for my friends to disown me, for everyone to kind of disown me. And they didn't. They didn't. My friends stuck by me. Were happy about the decision and helped me out. My family, while we've had disagreements, while we've heated arguments, particularly about how I'm dressed or how I look at the moment, I find forgiveness in my heart for what they do that hurts me, and I pray for forgiveness in their hearts for what I may or may not have said in turn. I mean, this was an issue with my uncle's funeral recently. My mom did not want me going a lot of times to deal with this funeral because the neighbors, his friends, do not accept me. They do not accept who I am. I flat out told my mom, I said, no, I will not sit back and let somebody tell me I can't be there for my family because of who I am. I will be, prepared for someone to get ugly with me, and I'll deal with it. I'm not gonna fight them. I'm not gonna argue with them. But I will prepare myself as much as I can to confront the arguments. But again, like I said, I've had 2 times. I've been dealing with this since 2007 is when I came out. 2 times. I've had no problems. I use the women's restroom all the time. No problems in that. No one's caused issue. Yeah, there's been some ugly looks. I get them all the time. But I got ugly looks before I transitioned. People are just like, I don't like you. People will make a reason to hate you. I hate to say it, but people will make a reason to hate you. But, yeah, the best part is don't give them the reason to hate you. If I were ever to become trans, I wouldn't want to force people to wear flags, kids to accept it, and protect my feelings a lot more. No, I mean, I think it was 2012, I was invited to a nursing school to talk about being trans and being treated in a hospital. And I looked at class. I stood up and talked to him. I said, I'm human. You're human. Just do not go into the situation and treat me less than human. That's my standpoint. If you treat me less than human, then yeah, you and I are going to have beef. But if you treat me equal, I'm fine with that. I'm not, and I mean, that means I don't need special treatment. Now, hospitals, and I've learned this the hard way, hospitals treat trans people differently, and I don't like it. It caused me one evening to literally sit in the emergency room for 24 hours with no food, no drink, and never going elsewhere in the hospital. Because I had to have a private room. That's the statement for trans people. Treatment. Because you don't want problems. So, yeah. And I was like, look, I don't need that kind of treatment. They're like, well, it's hospital rules. We have to do it. I said, well, in that case, I'm gone. Personally, I would just use the men's room. That's what society wanted me. I guess it's floppy like that. It comes down to how you present yourself. I'm not a trans person who goes around with a full beard. I'm a bit large. I'm almost 6 foot tall. I'm overweight at these days, but that's my own fault. And not exercising and eating too much. And I'm slightly balding. Not fully bald, but slightly balding. I can make my hair look like I'm not balding. I can wear hats. And I can present female. But a lot of it comes down to attitude. Literally attitude. You go in there, you go in the bathroom, act like nothing's different. Go in the bathroom, close the door, use the bathroom. Now, I always stood by the concept, I don't want male and female bathrooms. I want separate little bathrooms in public. Because one too many times have I gone to like a grocery store. I really needed to go to the bathroom because of my bladder. And it's like, really need to go to the bathroom. And the bathroom's closed because they need to clean it. And it's like, and they'd be like, oh, well, there's another bathroom, but like all the way at the other end of the store. Yeah, I can definitely see how appearance. Yes, it comes down to appearance. It really does. Appearance and attitude. Unaccepting. And I've never had an issue. I've had conversations with women in bathrooms regularly. I work in an office that's primarily female, and we're in the bathrooms and talk all the time. They know I'm trans. They don't care. Yes, I can never use public restrooms anyhow. Always save it, if you can, more power to you. Me, I've lost that race one too many times. I've lost that race on multiple ends. And that's how I've gotten UTIs. Not a great thing to have, a UTI. I'll tell you the worst part is the scope. It's the scope. They have to put this scope in, especially with males. They have to put the little scope in the opening. And it has to go up that end, the opening, so that they can look into it. It hurts. It hurts. You do not want that scope, ever. But it was one of those situations. Every time I've asked people and I come out as trans, they're like, oh, you're going female to male. I'm like, no, I'm male to female. A lot of people took me as a very butch woman for a while, but I'm also very effeminate with my actions, my dress, and my hair. I don't wear that much makeup, but that's because I like the concept of being more presentable in my face as best I can. I will wear makeup. I don't wear much jewelry, but that's more me just not liking to wear much. And a bad ear piercing of that I have to get redone. But yeah, it's a lot of it's attitude. Now, would I go into a locker room? No, I'd ask if they have like a family locker room that is private, or if they push me in the female locker room, I will change in a bathroom stall. I will close the door and change that way and get out of there as fast as I can. I would be worried about having been a rape victim and being a rape victim. I would have issue going in the male's locker room, but I understand. My biggest issue is there's a lot of guys that will go for that kind of stuff, and Despite not having a relationship in my life, part of that's just because I'm bad at relationships, I guess. The other part is when I find somebody who's into being with a trans woman, it's often they make it sexual, and they can't. And it's never a relationship, it's just sex. And that's part of the reason why most of my relationships never succeeded. Because it's just down to the sex. And I want something more out of a relationship. Please give me a freaking dinner out of it, you know? But it's life. Alright. Yeah, it's asking a lot of trust, a lot of parties, a sort of situation. Another good bit of info to let anyone thinking about this, you know? Yeah. So, this has been a tough subject. We've done a little bit of drawing, mostly details, and Demon Blade pages. As always, Demon Blade and Witchin come out on Sundays, nowadays, on Webtoons, Tapas, and DeviantArt. Demon Blade also comes out on demonbladecomic.com, and print versions of 6-chapter books get released on Amazon, both hard and digital. Right now, we only have one book out of it, but it's out there. Sorry for... No, not at all. This is a topical show, and I knew going into it, today's was going to be a topical subject. Because we had to address the parade issues. The issues with Queers for Palestine and the Pride Parade in Philly. And then the Pride Parade in Seattle with the nudity issues. Both of which just damage any good nature that Pride does. It really does. Again, if you're tuning to this later, you want to lambaste me, you want to attack me, you want to do anything, do it in the comments. I don't care. As long as YouTube or Twitch or, well, Twitter's not going to care. But YouTube or Twitch, you know, don't get too ugly to where they have problems. Let's see, great work. I look forward to seeing it. Yes, thank you. But yeah, as always, go out there, be the best you that you can be. Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful week, and a wonderful year. And thank you for Jackrabbit and Isak Kiyoshi for both joining in and chatting today. Good night, everybody.